Sanctum, a fantasy game where players control archetypical heroes. They're going on a journey to go and meet the big demon lord and to defeat him or her. Who knows? So, it's a fantasy game with strong, I would say, Euro gaming mechanics, with a puzzle element, with a dice element. There is quite a lot going on, so let's start talking about the game in general. Each player controls a character such as this one. The position of the character on the board is marked by a really nice looking miniature. The board has two pools of resources that you will use to activate abilities, focus and stamina, but basically you can think of them as red and blue because that's really what they are. Then again, the game has a little bit of an abstract quality. Your character has slots where you will place cards representing different kinds of items, and they have restrictions because they have to match the symbol of the slot. So you have two weapons, a helmet, a armor, and so on and so forth. 4 slots where you can place potions that will allow you to regenerate red or blue energy. And then here we have the skill area, which takes quite a while to set up. Each character comes with a unique set of skills that are a mix of cards and tokens, and you will place sometimes dice, sometimes the same energy tokens that you have there, but then you also place gems. As you can see, each card will tell you which gems you placed there at the beginning of the game. Said this one takes 2 green and a white, and I did precisely so each character has a display of this kind, but the displays are all different because they have different abilities and things. But again, setting it up is a little bit of a chore. Now, pretty much this is good to get started before we talk about gameplay. The players will travel in a fantasy land represented by a sequence of boards such as this one. They'll always start from the beginning. They travel from location to location. There are icons indicating the kind of monsters that are generated. Each location generates a set of monsters. Sometimes the set is made of 2 monsters, and sometimes it is made of a single monster that represents still a set. I like that the number of horns of the monster represents the level. So these monsters are level 1, and then you have monsters level 2, and then you will have monsters with 3 horns. When the players reach the end of a board, they move to the next one, and you slide it down and you add the following one. So that was board number 1 and number 2, and now we have number 2 and number 3, and so on and so forth. And you continue until you reach first. Here, the entrance to the lair of the villain, and there is a procedure / minigame that lets you breach the walls, and then you reach the board of the villain. This board, actually, the only thing it does is to be pretty impressive visually, because actually the villain is a single deck of cards that will produce cards that you have to fight in what is actually a full mini game at the end of the game. Or not so mini, because I don't know, it may take a little while. At the end of the game, after the Demon Lord is defeated, the player that wins the game is the player that inflicted the most hits on the monster, that achieved more glory. No, is the player that still has the most life, which is just a little anticlimactic. You need to be ruthless to be able to kill the Demon Lord monster of evil and doom. But ultimately, it looks like the player who won the game is the player that was able to dodge and absorb most hits and that was the most careful. Just there's a weird victory condition that gives a little bit of a anticlimactic quality to the game, in my very humble opinion. During the game, players alternate taking turns, and during a turn, you take 1 or 3 possible actions. Luckily enough, we have a very good player aid, because each action has several steps, especially fight is quite a procedure. The actions are to move, to fight, or to rest. Those are the actions. To move, the first action in the game for each player must be to move onto the board. Later, when all the players are on the board, moving is quite simple, and if you play games like Takenoko, you may be familiar. It's not entirely the same, but still similar. If you are the player in front of the line, when you move, you simply advance by 1 space. If you're not the player in front of the line, when you move, you go right in front of the line. Doesn't matter how far you travel by doing so. And this is pretty much how you move. But wait, there is more. When you move, you will encounter demons. There is a plus a 5 times 2 monsters there. That means that when the first player enters the board, you take 5 monsters, 5 sets of 2 monsters each, level 1, and they come from this display here, where you will have monsters level 1, level 2, and level 3. So we place, because the board tells us to do so, 5 sets of 2 monsters level 1 on the board, and we do like that. Basically, each time that you move, you will have 5 sets of demons, of monsters to choose from, and you will have to choose to take some of those and put them on your board. They represent monsters that are pursuing you and that you will have to fight later. So I moved, 5 sets are available there. I need to take one, and suppose that I choose this one, and I place it on my board. And so far, so good. We finished that procedure. If I reach the last space of the board, then there's a special procedure. These monsters are flipped to the other side, revealing an item. Each monster turns into an item, and there's a symbol on the other side telling you the kind of item that the monster generates, and each player will take a card from there. And so suppose that later people go and later I land here, then I draw a card from this deck, which is level 2, and I place it on the board. And again, remember, it counts as its own set. So the fact that you always, when you land, you add a monster, and you take one at the end, the next player will add a set when they move. That's why you always have 5 sets. And suppose that now I decide that I want to take this one monster here, and so on and so forth. That's for move. Fighting. Fighting, when you fight, you will need to fight all monsters that are on your personal board. You'll try to attack them all, to take down as many as you can, and also then, however, the monsters that are still there will attack you and will inflict damage equal to the number of blood drops that you see there. So that's kind of like the trade-off and really the heart of the game. You're collecting these monsters, and it's efficient if you have several of them, so with a single attack you can try to defeat many, but that means that the more monsters are there, the more damage you may take later. The procedure. Before you roll, you may spend a potion to regenerate some of these tokens here in case you have spent some before. Then you roll the dice. You start with only 2, but you may acquire more later. Oh, look at me, I rolled a 5 and a 3. That's exactly what I rolled. No, actually, I was a mistake. I rolled a 5 and a 1. After I roll the dice, I can allocate them to the monsters precisely in the way that you imagine it's done. You match the dice that are indicated there. And in this case, I kill those monsters. The monsters that are killed are flipped to the other side because now they become items. I also gain levels equal to the number of gems that they indicate there. So I have a blue level and a green level that I can spend. How do I spend those? I spend them on my skill section. For each level that I gained, I take a gem of the corresponding stone, or a white gem, they're wild, and I move it up by 1 space. So for example, remember I killed a monster with a blue gem, I can move this one there, and one with a green, so I could move a green and a white, and I decide, for example, to move a green. Why am I moving these gems that way? Because as soon as a card or tile doesn't have any gem on it, I can actually acquire it and equip it. It turns into a skill that I can place here on the side of the board. Pretty much becoming stronger and acquiring new abilities and things. You do not have to do these in order. So for example, if I move these gems here, then I would take this tile and I would acquire these two energy tokens in the bargain. The tile doesn't do anything. Let me keep it as a record in case I don't remember exactly how many tiles I took. When a gem moves from the top card, moves away from it, it goes in this area where it can later be used to equip items. And suppose that after a while we played, and this is my situation, that's my collection of gems. So, but back to us. Actually, remember, you fight the monsters, and another thing that you can do when you fight the monsters is to use your rage token. You flip the rage token face down, and then you can set any die to the number that you want. At the end of a round, later you also gain more dice. At the end of a combat, if your rage token is face down, and you still have dice that you have not been able to spend, and you still have monsters there, that really gets you mad and really gets you enraged, and that's how you get your rage token back. Basically, if you're super efficient and you kill every monster and you use every die, you don't need to be enraged, you're very satisfied. But if you don't fight in perfect efficiency, then that's what happened. So we talked about the monsters that you killed. If you hit a monster but you don't have enough to kill it, like in this case, say I have a 3 but not a 3 and a 6, then at least, likely enough, that carries over from turn to turn. You place a token there to indicate that the monster is wounded, so now to kill that monster I only need a 6. But the monsters that I have not killed attack me. And that's why I need to protect from 2 hits. This is when you use your blue and red tokens to protect yourself. For example, by spending 2 red tokens and placing them here, I'm activating an ability that gives me 2 shields, and that will help me because that precisely prevents me from losing those 2 blood drops that you saw there. These are the things you can use when you fight to alter the result of the dice. So for example, after I roll the dice, if I don't like what I see, then I can use a token here to add or subtract 1 from my die. And maybe I did that. Or I can use this other thing for that. So you start with a number of basic modifiers in attack and slots where you can place tokens, if you have them, to trigger abilities. And this is why it's important then to use a potion, for example, to regenerate some of those. Well, that was a long fighting procedure, huh? But wait, there is more. We are not done yet. After you kill monsters and you gain your levels, they turn into items that you place for now there. You will be able later to equip them by placing them in the corresponding slots on your character, and also by spending the gems that are indicated here. So that's one more reason why you need to take gems out of this display. So for example, to equip that hat, you need a green gem. To equip this weapon, you need a blue gem. That might be all for the fighting procedure. I think it is. Yeah, you roll, attack, block, gain levels and items. Oh, no, but wait, there's more. You also check for achievements. There is a board there which contains achievements for the first player that, well, completes certain things. So, for example, you gain a token here if you're the first player to have 3, 5, or 7 skills equipped. There, if you're the first player to have 2, 3, or 4 gems in each of 2 colors, and up there that is the equip mastery. So you gain the tokens again from top to bottom, respectively, if you're the first player to have 4, 7, or 10 levels of equipped items. these will give you different types of benefits that you can use in the end game. So, fighting, that was something, right? Now, we said you had 3 possible actions in the game, which are fight, move, fight, and rest. When you rest, you restore your blue and red energy. Oh, maybe I didn't mention purple is wild, so you can use red or blue to fulfill that energy requirement. When you rest, you restore all of your energy. That is when you can equip your items. So we're gonna give her a hat. And to me, that's kind of like, I don't know how else it could be done. They want to have, I guess, that video game effect that you're equipping things to your character, but maybe that is something that works better in video games, because the more stuff you equip, the less you get to see your character. Actually, after a while, the character looks kind of like weird, and that's just, I don't know, production-wise, it's sad that I don't get to see my character. Anyways, that is what you do. When you equip these items, then sometimes you will have those other slots that again you can use by spending abilities. Other times you may gain the ability of setting a die to a specific number. So for example, by using that ability there, I can set the die that I rolled to number 3. But that's a general idea. You can also buy potions by discarding unused items. You can buy potions, and each potion that you buy, you flip it like a coin, because you do not know if it's gonna be a blue or a red potion. Whatever you receive, you get what you get, and you don't get upset. And after you rest, you also check for achievements, and we saw what that means. Travel from board to board until you reach the final encounter with the final super mega evil boss. Defeat that, and at the point the player who lost the fewest stamina, who lost the fewest life, wins the game. So, Sanctum, I like the core idea, I really do, but then when you see the overall execution, that is when you're actually playing the game that contains that idea, my feelings are a lot more mixed. The core idea is great, I think. I like that balance that you're trying to strike. You're trying to be efficient, so you don't spend a lot of turns just fighting one monster at a time. You want to collect a lot, and then you spend a single turn to destroy several. But at the same time, you do that too much, you collect too many monsters, you're going to take a lot of damage. It's a simple idea, but it's just the kind of trade-off that, in my opinion, if executed well, can just be enough to hold my interest for an entire game. And I started the game pretty excited. The first couple of turns I was really excited. I was even able to go past how much pain I had to accept to set up the game. It is possible that it's because I host game nights and I like to set up the games before my friends come, so I had to set up all 4 boards. Big pain in the neck. The game just takes a while to set up, and then also to put back in the box, unless you dump all the components together, but then you'll never play it again because you'll never want to sort through those to set it up again. So setup is cumbersome, but I said, okay, fine, never playing the game. And I really like, again, the general idea, the general trade-off. But the execution. The production looks really pretty, but then as I started playing the game, again, there were little things here and there that were bothering me, such as the fact that the cards, as you may have noticed, the cards of the demons, to me, blend into the background. I just had to look several times around, and it was easy for me to miss a set. I would take a set, and then I would see that there was a set that I had literally not seen, and that would be better. It's annoying that, do you mind if I go back and redo this? Just annoying. There are a couple of other things that the rulebook says you're gonna find on the board, and you don't. So, because the board looks very pretty. A couple of things where the rulebook is not entirely clear, where the rulebook again doesn't match the board entirely. Small things like that. Another thing in general is the final minigame to me felt totally unnecessary by the time we reached the 5th board, or was it the 4th board, with the full path. I was happy if we didn't have the entire breaching the walls and then fight the mega monster, in which every player receives a set of cards on their board and they are fighting against that. by then I was like, I would have been just so fun if the game was about developing your character and then you have a quick confrontation at the end. I basically had lost interest by then. The game just feels a little too long for what it has to offer, and also a little too fiddly. I like that idea, the trade-off. Get out of monsters, you fight efficiently, but you can get some hits. But then there are just so many other things, so many other moving wheels that you have to worry about before you get there to really experience that. And those items, and the puzzles, and the game can be slowed down precisely because, well, you want to optimize your possibilities, you want to maximize your items and your gems, but then you spend a lot of time thinking, if I get this gem, I can activate that item, however, then I need to remove that other item. Wait a second, but if I move that other gem instead, I also get to move that tile, etc., etc. Analysis paralysis. So, pluses and minuses, really. I like the general idea, but the game felt too long, too fiddly, fragmented because of the mini-game in front of the walls and the not-so-mini-game as you fight the giant mega demon lord. It's a pity. I like at some point maybe somebody makes a Sanctum, a smaller version, which plays, say, in under an hour, and it's just about that fighting thing without all of the other symphonic thing that you have around it. One other thing that everybody felt, including me in my group, is like, it just feels like this should be a cooperative game. There would be probably more fun if you were coordinating actions, if there were some ways of interacting or putting together your resources. The fact that it's competitive, and again, the victory condition just is weird and somehow unappealing, and who cares? That you played it safer and you're healthier at the end of the game. If you actually win, if you actually are the person that goes down in flame because a demon lord blasted you with like a fireball or something, if you just go down in a glorious final strike and you take down the monster with you, that would be a lot more epic, a lot more satisfying. Victory based on I'm still healthier than you after an epic confrontation, it just, well, takes away the epic element of it. So pluses and minuses. I like the pluses, which are not many, but big. But they're surrounded by this swarm of little annoyances, little annoying things. And so at the end, I have mixed feelings. I wouldn't mind playing the game again if I come to your house and you have set it up there already. I don't have to worry about that. And you put it back in the box and maybe there's nothing else to play. Fine, I can play it again, but I don't think I'll go out of my way to play it again because it's 2020, we are experiencing a magnificent renaissance of tabletop gaming, and there are just so many more games that have similar ideas, that present you with similar dilemmas and trade-offs, and they do so in a way that is leaner, less fiddly, more straightforward, and that does not overstay its welcome. All things that, on the other hand, I think Sanctum is a little lacking in.